Hey girl, happy Friday. So it is March 27th, 2026, and I don't know if I'm going to keep this video up because it's not the video that I have planned for the week, but it's the video that was on my heart. So I'm actually in the process of editing the video that I have for the week. If you have been around, you know that I post a video every single week. And right now we are in a series on leveling up our standards to level up our life. And so I'm in the words. I promise you, the words do not always come. I get so many comments about, wow, you are just, I love the way you talk. You speak so well. I promise you, my words get all caught up, and that was an example of it. But anyway, I am in the middle of editing this week's video, and as I was looking at it, I was just thinking about how much life has changed. And because this week's video, the third week of our Level Up Your Life by Summer series, is going to be a tad bit delayed, I didn't want to leave you hanging. So I wanted to just share with you just some thoughts that were on my mind. And something that I was thinking of was the fact that probably 15-ish years ago, I was in this place of not really showing up for myself, thinking about my life now and thinking about where I am now. Who I was 15-ish years ago would just be like shocked of what we have accomplished, what we have done, the ways that we have like grown and shown up for ourselves, and the ways that we have just started like living the life of our dreams. I say our, oh my goodness, our third person. But yeah, the way that I have started living the life of my dreams, me 15-ish years ago would just be like, wow, I'm really surprised, because who I was then and who I am now is a completely different story. I get a lot of comments from people who are like, I show up for everybody else. I do the things for everybody else, but I don't show up for myself. And people are telling me, I feel like you are in my home, and you are in my thoughts, and you are living the life that I have lived. And the reason is because that used to be my story. That is exactly who I was, where I never struggled to show up for others, but I would struggle to show up for myself. When it came to other people, like, I got you. I would dream big for them. I would like make sure that they had everything that they needed. But when it came to me, I didn't know how to do that. There were always things that I wanted to do, and I would convince myself that either I couldn't make it happen, or I didn't deserve it, or that it was selfish for me to go after that. So I wouldn't do anything. And when I did, I would do it in such a quiet way that it was like, well, at least this is the way that I can make this thing happen. So I would like watch videos. Maybe I would read some books, and then I would get excited and pumped up about whatever it was that I wanted to do. And I would start prioritizing myself, and I would lose focus, and then I would just do nothing for a little bit. And that was just the same cycle that I would repeat every single time. I was thinking how that wasn't how it always was, but it was something that I became just because of where life was. As a little girl, I wanted to be a doctor. So my dad, he was a doctor, he was a chiropractor. And he like went to school, did all of the things. And for me, it was a big thing, because I saw all of the work that it took for him to be able to make that happen. And I wanted to follow in his path. So in high school, I went to a high school that I had to test into to go to a school for medical professions. And I loved it. I absolutely loved the school. It was small. It was catered to me. I did well in it. And right around my, like into my sophomore year and into my junior year, I was like, I don't want to be that kind of doctor anymore. I don't want to do that type of doctoring. But I still loved the school and I did well and I graduated in the top half of my class because I was a nerd and I liked school. So I did that. But the desire to do something big for my life, it never left me. And years later, that dream to do something bigger kind of dimmed a bit because if you know my story, life hit. Both of my parents had passed, and life just became about surviving from day to day. I was taking care of my brother, taking care of my sister, who were both much younger than me. And so, really making sure that they had what it is that they needed. And so, paying the bills, going to work, just doing those things. And so, I had been in this career as a special education teacher for about 10 years. And while I loved my kids, I enjoyed my coworkers and all of that, there was still something in me that just wanted a little bit more. Around the time I was 32, I remember this day so clearly where there was a woman who walked inside of my school and she owned the company that served like all of the special education needs in our school. So I was at like a charter district at this time. And so all of our related services that students needed of like physical therapy or speech therapy, all of that, we did not have that in-house. And so we needed a company to outsource that. And this lady, she owned that company. And I saw it and I was like, I want that. And at the time, it wasn't I want to own a special education related services company. That wasn't it. It was I want to be the type of woman who goes after the things that I want to go after. I want to be unafraid to jump out there and do the things that I feel like God has placed on my heart, but I have just been so afraid to do it. Seeing that it really reignited something in me, and I stepped out of my comfort zone, literally probably a year later, stepped out of my comfort zone and went after my master's degree to go and get that, which opened the opportunity for me to be able to pursue my PhD. And so I was going to earn my doctorate. So not a medical doctor like I thought I was going to be, but my doctorate in education. However, as things always do, life always presents you an option, but then also something that you have to work through. It came with a cost. I was going to have to quit my job in order to be able to do it. And by this point, I had actually worked my way up in the school to becoming the special education coordinator. And it was a nice fancy title and had nice pay. And I was about to be the special education, what was it? I can't remember the title, but I was going to be over the district of special education within our system of schools where I was. And it was going to come with much more money, a fancier title, and something guaranteed, and a nice place of stability. And so I had these two options at the same time. You can go after your PhD, but you're going to have to quit work because that was not going to allow me to be able to work. Or you can go after this other thing where you are. And it was comfortable, it was easy, it was a guaranteed shoe-in, but I had to determine what is going to be best for me. And my heart was with my PhD, but I was scared, y'all. And so I sat on it for a few weeks trying to decide what it was that I was going to do, because it was just such a huge leap of faith to quit a job. I'd finally gotten to a place where I was stable, kind of like barely stable financially. I'd finally gotten to that space. And so doing something different felt like such a huge risk to that. Also, part of me felt like really selfish about even considering it. What about the students that I had been serving? What about the school that needed me and that relied on the level of expertise that I was bringing there? What would my friends say? What about my brother and sister who were still like pretty new in adulthood, but trying to figure life out? But there was this fire that was lit. And after some thinking, after some praying, I felt such peace about going after my PhD. So I quit my job, and it was the wildest and most courageous thing I had ever done in my life. But I was like, this is what I need to do. I took this leap of faith of myself and I enrolled in my PhD program as a full-time student at the ripe old age of 35, just starting over and doing something very different. I was going to be paid this very small stipend, but I was like, this is going to work out. I believe it. This is exactly the path that I need to be on. And while I was really nervous, I had these mentors who looked at me in the eye and who said, this is your time. You can do this. And I believed them and I trusted God. And so I went for it. Now, PhD programs sound really fancy and really exciting, but a lot of people start and never finish it. I've met a lot of people who have been like ABD, which means all but dissertation, where they have taken the coursework, but they haven't done the dissertation, which means they actually haven't finished their PhDs. And they have done that for years and years and years, 16, 17, 20, 30, whatever years of being in a PhD program. And so when I started, I was like, absolutely not. I am going to start and I am going to finish. And so I started, and 4 years later, I was done. And I often think about that as a decision that changed my life. Not because everything was easy, it certainly wasn't, but it was because I finally chose me. And I feel like God had to do something really big for me to choose myself, because I was scared, y'all. Like, I was scared to just invest in myself and to do something for myself. If you've watched me before, I've said that finances have been really hard for like years. And so it was just all right, I guess like I'm going to do something. But I do realize that I had gotten there because I had taken all of these really tiny leaps of faith beforehand. And those very small leaps of faith added up to this big thing of being able to choose myself and do this thing in my PhD program. And with that, I promise you, I was crazy afraid, but I didn't ask anybody for permission. I did not let the fear of going after it hold me back. I did the thing. I got my pens, I got my pencils, I got myself excited to be a full-time college student all over again, and took this leap of faith because I finally realized that I was always worth showing up for. For once, I wasn't overly concerned about whether or not my grown siblings would need my financial help. I knew they would, but I figured these things are going to sort themselves out as they get there. Right now, I need to choose me. And that was what I did. And I know that I'm not the only one, because so many of us, I read it in the comments, so many of us are showing up for everybody else while we are quietly dreaming of something more. And I guess I wanted to say that I see you, because that's me. I am you. And what helped me was being willing to go after the change, having others to speak life into me, and having a structure that held me accountable. That was what I did in my PhD program. And it was also something that I noticed in other areas of my life where I was successful, was that I was willing to step up to the plate to do the thing. I had other people who were speaking that life into me, and I had this structure where I was being held accountable. And so years later, now that I am on YouTube and sharing my story with other people, and you listening in and tuning in and saying that, wow, I really feel like you hear me, you understand me, you have been in my life. That is now why I've created the KDT Collective. If you've been around for a bit, you know that I've had my Declutter Your Life happy hours, and I still have people who are showing interest in that via email and asking me when that is going to come back. I've actually folded that into the KDT Collective, which is now a monthly group membership. I loved the Declutter Your Life happy hours because I got a chance to interact with people, and it was just a fun 3 or 5 days, depending on what the structure was that you got if you attended. It was a fun few days of just build up and excitement. But after it, I felt just unsatisfied, because I was like, I don't have this like place or community of people that can come together with knowing that they have a lot of other women who are working on the same things that they are working on. And it just took me a minute to really think about, how can I make that happen. And so over these last few months, I have been working on that. And so things that were in the happy hour and a portion of what I've had in my coaching program has been folded into this collective community, no pun intended, but this KDT collective where monthly we're going to get together. We have a focus, we have weekly check-ins, we have all of these things and supports that are in place where you show up and you get to hold yourself accountable, but you're with all of these other women who are on that same path and on that same journey. And I'm so excited about that because when you get to the space where you're holding yourself accountable, is so much bigger than anything else. But you have other people who are speaking that life into you. There is nothing like that. And I thought how this is the thing that has worked for me every single time, and for everything that I have gone after and everything that I've been successful for is having that structure in place. And I wanted to be able to build that for other women, regardless of what it is that they are working on. And so everything goes live this weekend. I'm so excited. Today is Friday. And so we have our live kickoff party on Sunday. And yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. I'm excited to see what God is going to do with this community because it has just been something that has been on my heart for a really long time, is to use my experiences and the things that God has brought me through and the things that I have been able to overcome to be a blessing to other people as well. And so I created this community for women like me who have never missed the opportunity to be there for others, but have found it difficult to be able to show up for themselves. This is that space to be able to do that, and a space to be able to follow through, a space to be able to have some gentle accountability and check-ins that don't like overhaul and take over your whole life, but is a way to, and a place to be able to keep returning, all for like less than the price of actually going to happy hour. You get a real community of women who also get it and who have also been there, and tools and resources and coaching to help you actually move forward, and accountability that is going to support you so that you're not doing it by yourself. A lot of us, I know me, I really have thought I can do this by myself, but I have never been able to level up my life trying to do it by myself. And if I think back on all of the times where I finally got to a place of something unlocked or something became successful, it was because I stopped being so stubborn and stopped thinking that I needed to do it all by myself, but also stopped being so self-deprecating and feeling like I didn't deserve it, and let other people pour into me. That was when I finally started leveling up. And so like I said, this Sunday, we are kicking things off live, and it's going to be a room full of women who have decided to say yes to themselves. And I would love for you to be in that room. If there's something inside of you that has been saying, this is your time, you can do this, I want you to listen to her because she's been waiting. I will leave the link down below if that's something that you feel is supportive to your journey. But other than that, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share my story every single week and pour into you. It has been, I know many of you have told me how much of a blessing it has been for you to hear it, but it's also been such a blessing and a testimony for me to be able to share it, because it lets me know that, why am I getting emotional? This is so crazy. It's also let me know that the things that I went through, the hardships, the difficulties, the hurt, the loss, all of that, it wasn't just for me. I share all the time that that if our life is just about us, then we're doing it wrong. But even in that, God has so much for our lives, and that he gives us is not just for us to keep and for us to hoard to ourselves, but for us to share with others. And so I truly am, oh my goodness, this is so weird. Seriously, was not expecting this. Okay, this is so silly. Alrighty, yeah, was not expecting that. But I thank you. I'm thankful that my story gets to be a blessing to other people, and the things that I have learned from what I've gone through with decluttering and self-worth and all of these things, that they are not just for me. And the hardships that I went through were not just so that Christy could just struggle through life, but it is so that I could use that to bless you. So thank you. Thank you for letting me pour into you. Thank you for just coming, hearing my story, being part of this platform. And I don't take any of that lightly at all. So I appreciate it. And I love you guys so much. And because I've gotten all teary-eyed, like I did not mean to get to on the internet, we're done. Anyway, thank y'all for being here. I will see you in a few days with my actual video for this week about the third standard that we are leveling up. So make sure you're tuned in for that. Anyway, y'all, yeah, I'm done. Subscribe, be here. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Mwah. Bye for now.